What's going on, YouTube? This is Patrick Joy. This is Real Men Work Kills TV, and we are again talking Husker football. Um, Tomorrow, Nebraska kicks off at 2:30 in Memorial Stadium in Lincoln against Michigan. That's 2:30 Central Time. In case you're wondering, and well, we got ourselves a game. Um, in the CBS Sports rankings, Michigan is 25th and Nebraska is 30th. So we're knocking on the door of the top 25. And Michigan, they're trying to stay in the top 25. Let's see what the AP top 25 says here. Um, AP top 25 has Michigan at 21st, and Nebraska is receiving 9 votes. Um, we're receiving votes, but you know, we're not in the top 25, but we are knocking on the door. And a solid performance against Michigan could propel us in there, especially if we were to win. As far as the coaches poll goes, Michigan is ranked 20th, but none of the polls can really agree upon where to put Michigan. And Nebraska is receiving 24 votes. So again, we're knocking on the door. Nebraska is knocking on the door of the top 25. At some point, I fully believe Nebraska will break into the top 25 this season. Tomorrow's game is going to really tell us when that will be. Michigan is currently 2-1 with their only loss to Oklahoma. Nebraska is 3-0. Now, granted, Michigan's already played a team that, well, let's face it, is a contender. Oklahoma is currently ranked where? 12th in the coaches poll. AP top 25 has Oklahoma at number 11. And CBS Sports Rankings has Oklahoma at number 11 as well. So again, Oklahoma is a much tougher team than any team Nebraska has faced. But Michigan also was supposed to win that because at the time, if I remember correctly, Oklahoma was ranked lower than Michigan. So, what does that tell us? Is Michigan as good as people think they are, or maybe they're not so good, not as good? Who knows? Looking at the betting lines, I'm looking at DraftKings right now. Michigan is a 1.5 point favorite. The spread is 1.5. The spread is 1.5 points in favor of Michigan. They're only predicting for the over under there'd be about 47.5 points scored, and the money line on Michigan is minus 118. The money line on Nebraska is minus 102. So it's gonna be interesting. It's definitely going to be interesting. I have stats up here, so if you see me looking up here, that's what I'm doing. Is I'm looking at stats. As far as the score prediction goes, this could go a lot of different ways. Nebraska and Michigan, talent-wise, this year are not that far apart. I think the Vegas insiders, I think a lot of the sports writers, they're all seeing that. And I think that's people do the rankings. I think they're seeing that as well. And like I said, I fully expect Nebraska to, one, keep this game really tight. Two, I'm not ruling out the possibility of a win. In fact, I'm changing my prediction on this because I have Michigan down as a straight up loss. Honestly, I'm looking at this and I'm going to give it a 50-50. In fact, I think I'm going to predict two different score outcomes, one for Michigan winning and one for Nebraska winning, because this does feel like a trap game for Michigan. And we can get into that in a little bit. But let's kind of I'm gonna pull Nebraska stats. And I'm going to put that there. Now, this the other one. Okay, so let's kind of look at, because I have Michigan's website up, I have Nebraska's website up with team stats. So should be able to kind of look at this here. So as far as total points, this season, let's see here. I don't like how Michigan has their team stats set up. It's way different in Nebraska's. I wish I could probably show you guys somehow. I think I'd have to add another screen in here, and I'm not going to do that right now. But let's look at Michigan stats overall. Points per game, Michigan has been averaging 36.67. We've been averaging, let me see here. And that's just what's coming up. Here, let's see. Points per game. We've been averaging 49 points per game, and we had a couple really big wins in there, so that's part of the reason why. Michigan has only scored 110 points on the season, so far, versus Nebraska has scored 147. So again, these numbers aren't that far apart. Michigan's opponents have been allowed 44. Our opponents have been allowed 24 points total. So that's a little bit bigger number difference. But, our defense is working. Our offense is working. Yes, we're lower ranked than Michigan. We're not even in the top 25 like Michigan is. And some people say, well, unless you're in the top 25, that doesn't count. But the fact is, Michigan, they've been dropping in the rankings, and we've been slowly climbing in the rankings. So momentum's definitely on Nebraska's side. And, when we look at some of these other stats, so Michigan has, looks like 34 rushing first downs. Actually, no, that's not what I want. I want total yards. Okay, here we go. So total yards for rushing on the season, their total is 728. They've allowed 267. Nebraska rushing yards, let's see here. Doesn't give me a nice clean number. Oh, put it this way, we've done right here. We've done 559 yards gained, and we've lost 23 yards on rushing attempts. Our opponents, we've allowed 490 yards gained, but we've also forced them to lose 82 yards. So the numbers are a little bit different, a little bit. When you compare the numbers are very, very similar. Again, you look at any of these numbers, even the passing numbers, defensive numbers, all that stuff. Like, our numbers are very, very similar. Both teams are, again, very, very close in talent wise and based on the stats. again, this is Nebraska's first real test. I mean, granted, the Cincinnati game was against the Big 12 team. Cincinnati's in the Big 12 now. And, that is a Power 5 opponent. But we beat them. They're not that good of a team, but they're not that bad. It wasn't that long ago. They were doing pretty good. So, who knows? I'm not sure what Cincinnati's done since, but I haven't really been paying attention. But when you look at to the other teams that we've already played, since we played them, but the point is, you can't rule out Nebraska this season, and this could very well be a trap game. Who knows what Michigan's approach is going to actually be for this game? Are they thinking, okay, it's Nebraska, we beat them before, we're going to beat them again, go in there all cocky, thinking, we're going to march in here, we're going to beat Nebraska easily. Or are they going to take us as a serious opponent? And that is going to determine whether this is a trap game for Michigan or not. It's also going to determine how, the game results. Like I said, we can get into passing yards, all that stuff if you want, but for now, I think we're just going to kind of, look at it, a little bit differently. And actually, let's look at passing yards. Total passing yards. It actually has that here. Oh, here we go. I was looking at this wrong. So total passing yards for Nebraska is 1,099 passing yards. That's our total passing yards. Michigan's total passing yards is only 628. This is potentially where we have some advantage. Now we've also only allowed allowed our opponents to have 198 total passing yards. Michigan has allowed 547. So again, there might be the big divide. Not to mention, there's someone on the team that we haven't seen a whole lot of lately because there hasn't been a whole lot of excuse to bring him onto the field, which is not a bad thing. It's a good thing, actually. And that is Archie Wilson. I've seen some clips of this kid. Saw him a little bit in the Cincinnati game, but I've seen some clips of this kid. This kid is crazy talented. He can put that ball with his left foot or his right foot anywhere on the field. Anywhere. This kid is extremely talented. And this is also the last game his parents will be here for this season that we know of. Who knows? They might come back, and whatnot later on in the season. I don't know. But I'm looking to see Nebraska utilize him tomorrow. Now, from what I also understand, he can run and catch as well. So, just because he's coming out there to punt doesn't necessarily mean he's going to actually punt. So, from what I understand, he can run, throw, and catch very well. Be looking for a potential fake at some point. There's a lot of things that could happen with that kid because he is, from what I understand, phenomenally talented. So, again, looking at all this stuff, I mean, the numbers aren't that far apart except for maybe in passing. Numbers definitely indicate that we probably have a better defense when it comes to passing than Michigan does. And defenses do win games if we can force Michigan to stay on the ground and limit their field. Their mobility as far as that stuff goes. Nebraska could actually win this. But we got shut down, and we got a good secondary, and so I mean, we've also got depth for once. I mean, we got depth at quarterback, talented depth at that as well. We got depth in the running back room. We got depth in the receiving room. We got a lot of young, hungry players who want to win. They strive to win. It's a home game for Nebraska. So there is a lot of things that definitely make Nebraska potentially be a really great contender in this game. And there is a lot of arguments for Nebraska winning this game. We've proven already this season that we can win a close game. Look at the Cincinnati game. We won that game. And it was close. And we almost lost it, but we found a way to win. Look for that against Michigan. Look for us, finding a way to win. The spread's only 1.5 points. The spread is only 1.5 points. So I can see Nebraska trying to win. And I can see this game being very close. I can see it being a defensive battle. I can see it being, a hard-fought game, but I can see Nebraska potentially winning. So let's look at my notes here. Hold on. Let's get into score predictions. Trying to find my score prediction for Michigan winning. I have a score prediction. Yeah, that's us winning. Where's the one for Michigan winning? I know I have a score in here somewhere. So my score prediction for if Michigan wins is 27-24. It's still a very close game against a top 25 opponent. And keeping it that close, we're likely to go up in the ranks, or in ranking. If we lose, I don't see us getting into the top 25 just yet. But if we keep it close like that, I think we're going to be right on the edge, like 26, 27, maybe 28, somewhere in there. That being said, if this is a trap game, if Nebraska finds a way to pull it out, and let's face it, Memorial Stadium, when Husker fans are rowdy, it's hard to be an opponent there. I'm sure anyone who has played Nebraska in Lincoln can attest to that, especially when Nebraska has been doing good. Husker fans, we can be kind of rowdy. We can be loud and rowdy and whatnot. So my score prediction for if, and now I've lost it. I had it here. So if it ends up being a trap game, if Nebraska finds a way of winning, I see the score more likely 31-27. In order to make that happen, again, Michigan, I don't think Michigan's going to approach this game, truly taking Nebraska serious. I think they're going to take the game serious, but I don't know how serious they're really going to take. You know, so again, Michigan needs to, for Nebraska to win, Michigan needs to underestimate Nebraska. Nebraska needs to come out and just be like, put Michigan on that back foot. Nebraska needs to put Michigan on that back foot, make Michigan chase us. Things that I could possibly see going on in the scenario where Nebraska wins. I could see Nebraska leading by a field goal or a touchdown at halftime. I could see Michigan fighting back in the second half, maybe taking a brief lead or even tying up the game. But I think it's going to come down to a late drive by Nebraska, maybe aided by a big passing play or a Michigan mistake, and Nebraska winning the game that way. Definitely got to watch turnovers, special teams, penalties. All these things need to be factored in. But again, for Michigan, this does have all the hallmarks of a trap game for Michigan. Nebraska has momentum and confidence. You look at how we've been playing so far this season. We got that momentum and we got that confidence. You can tell the players are out there confident. You can tell they're out there having fun and that they're taking this game serious at the same time. And that they're trying to get a little bit better every single day. And I can only see Nebraska improving as the season goes on. Again, I'm giving two different score predictions. I don't know how it's going to turn out. But I'm leaning towards a Nebraska victory, even though the odds are against us. Michigan did have a recent setback against Oklahoma. And, that was in week 2. And face it, that wasn't a good setup it wasn't a good look for Michigan. But again, that adds pressure on Michigan to perform. But it also makes them vulnerable if they're still mentally recovering or overlooking Nebraska as a lesser than a big non-conference opponent. Nebraska is going to be huge. There's something special, brewing in Lincoln this year, and I can feel it. I want to drink that Kool-Aid. I really, really do. There's some quirks with this matchup as well. Nebraska, their pass defense is one of the best in the country right now. And that could neutralize Michigan's ability to pass effectively. And if Michigan leans too heavily on their run game, they become predictable, and it could make them easier to defend. And again, Michigan is likely undervaluing Nebraska as an opponent. Michigan is favored slightly in Vegas odds, but Nebraska has nearly equal win probability once you factor momentum and home field advantage. And if Michigan players assume we're still the better team, that leans right into the trap game psychology. So again, look for a close game. It could go either way. I'm saying this is a 50-50 situation. And with that, I'm going to hop off here. I'm going to get this posted, and we will see how it goes. I can't wait till kickoff tomorrow. I think it's going to be a great game. I'm thinking it's going to be a must-watch. It feels like something that should be an evening game, but they're having it as an afternoon game. Fine. But I think this is going to be a really, really big matchup. With that, I'm going to hop off here. Y'all have a good one. God bless y'all. Go Big Red.